Welcome back, everybody. You guys have asked for it, so today is the day. I'm going to show you how I achieved this vintage photograph look in Photoshop. If this is your first time tuning into the channel, go ahead, smash the subscribe button, give me a thumbs up, ring the bell for notifications, and stay tuned each and every week for new videos. Let's go ahead, jump right into Photoshop, and I'll teach you step by step how to achieve this look. So the first thing we want to do is just open up our photo. And the first thing I do is I'll start with my color grade. So again, I'm not going to go through my whole color grading process in this video, but I am going to attach in the description of this video, I will attach a link where you guys can find the preset that I use in this video. Plus in that pack, I will also add the textured layers to help build this effect. So I'm just going to go over here to presets, scroll down here, and I called this one Sapiso Soul Sister. The model that modeled for me in this photo, her name is Sapiso, also goes by Bella, and I will put a link to her Instagram, but she does some amazing work. In fact, we weren't even planning this shoot. She just showed up, and this was just kind of the style of outfit she was wearing, and we just thought we have to capture this and we've got to go out and shoot it. So that's where this whole idea came from, but just turned out to be a really fun, really cool shoot, and I'm glad that we were able to do it. So once you have the photo and everything opened up, we're going to want to first just start out with a basic crop. And on this, we'll go ahead and clear. I don't want any specific ratio. I just want to get a little bit of the top where the curtains weren't quite covering, and here on the bottom, just out of the picture. And then we'll go ahead and start off with our skin retouching. So for this, we're going to do a frequency separation. Now I have already created an action, but I do have a whole video on how to do your own frequency separation. So I will post a link to that video and show you guys exactly my step-by-step process of how I build this action. So we're just going to go here to our texture layer, and we will just start removing any imperfections that we see. So Bella, one of the joys of working with her is she has got very good skin, so it doesn't take a whole lot of work here when it gets into the frequency separation part of it. And I will go ahead and just speed up this part of the video, but for those that have not seen the frequency separation video, what we are doing here is I am using the clone stamp tool. I am sampling an area of smooth skin next to the imperfection, and then we are just painting over the imperfection. Alright, and I would call that good. On the blemish removal, you can see before and after. So again, she doesn't have a whole lot of blemishes on the skin that we need to take care of, but now what we're going to do is we're just going to smooth everything out and blend in all the colors. So with that, we'll come down here to our color layer. I'm going to select our lasso tool. We want to make sure our feather is at 15%. And then we're just going to go ahead and select the areas. We don't want to get her hair in there, so go around the eyebrows, around the hair. Let's go to filter, blur, Gaussian blur, and then I just take this radius just start moving it up. Now there's just kind of a fine point to where you start to flatten everything out. You can see if we go really high, it just gets really dark, but even if you go here, you just kind of lose all the highlights and it just really flattens out that image. So you want to find where everything just kind of blends and gets smooth, but you don't lose the definition of everything. So I'm just going to say 14 on this image. And then we just go around here and we're just going to start sampling areas of the skin. And then you can do the shortcut Control Alt F and that'll apply it, or you can also come up here to filter and just click again on Gaussian blur, but you can see here Alt Control F is the shortcut, so we will be using those. And I will say, when you learn these shortcuts, it will make your life so much easier when working with Photoshop, just on a time management standpoint. It really speeds up the whole editing process. And then anytime you're doing frequency separation, you don't want to just apply it to the face, you want to apply it to all of the skin to make everything look even. Same with when you're doing blemish removal, you want to go around and just check everything. Luckily, I've worked with Bella many times, so I know that I don't really need to do anything as far as the rest of the body is concerned, but we will go and just smooth everything up so everything looks uniform. Alright, and if you think that it's maybe a little overdone, gone a little too far, I'm thinking the arms are kind of looking a little bit plastic. So what we're going to do is come up here to our main layer, which is housing the whole group, and I will just drop that opacity down to about 75%. And this is just the after, before, after. So just kind of blends everything in nicely. Alright, so the next step from here is I will go and apply my dodge and burn. So just show you real quick how you can do that. You can just click here, create a curves layer, and for dodge you're wanting to lighten, for burn you're going to darken. So for this we will grab right here in about our midpoints and we're just going to drag it up, and then I'll hit Control I to invert that layer so that we are working on a black mask, and I'll name this dodge. And we will duplicate or create another curves layer, and we will do just the opposite. We're going to take it in the midpoint, bring it down, hit Control I to invert that, and we'll name this burn. Let's go ahead and group those together, select them all, hit Control G, and we can name this dodge and burn. And I always like to start with my dodge. Now to do this, since we're working on a black layer, we're going to want to start with a white brush. So make sure your box here is selected white. If it's not, you can just hit the keyboard shortcut key X and that'll switch in between the two. So select a white brush, make sure your paintbrush is selected, and then you want a soft round brush for this. And then I will set my flow to 3%. And on this, I just want to paint where the highlights would naturally hit, which is normally going to be on your T-zone. So just kind of the bridge of the forehead, down the bridge of the nose, on the chin, top of the cheekbones, just you can pretty much see in the image what's highlighted, what's not, and we just want to accentuate that. And again, same as frequency separation, you just want to go over everything. Now right now I am just focusing on her skin, but we will go back and I'll do this on pretty much the clothes, anything, and it just really makes the picture come alive. It makes it pop. I love what it does to it, so I'm a big fan of dodge and burn, but you can also very easily get carried away with it. So a lot of times the little subtleties will change a picture drastically. So real quick, we just did the dodge on there. You can just see, just making everything pop. Now we'll come in with the burn, same settings, flow to 3%, white brush, soft, and we're gonna just paint in where the natural shadows would be. Alright, so before, after. Now again, same as the frequency separation. If you feel like it's done a little bit too much, you can always drop the opacity. I normally always drop the opacity of anything I do. I always think at 100% it's probably just a little bit too much. But let's go ahead. So drop the opacity down to 75%. And now I'm going to go in here, I'm going to play with the clothes, the background, and just really highlight everything. So for this, well, first off, I'm going to highlight just some features on the face. So I'll turn up my flow to 5%. And I'll come in here with my dodge. I just want to highlight her lips. Kind of where those natural highlights, where you really see the bright areas, is what I'm trying to hit here. Alright, and then I'll even bump the flow up just a little bit more to about 9%, and this is where I'm going to start working on the outfit and the curtains in the background. So again, I just work on looking at the image, work on the highlighted areas and then the dark areas. So her shirt is kind of highlighted, so I'm going to go ahead and just dodge this in. Actually, I think that might be a little bit too much, so on that I'll probably leave that off. Maybe work on just the highlights here. What I'll do is I'll come in with a big brush where we can do just one swoop on the shirt so that it looks even. come in with the burn. And again, you can hit the curtains and everything. For this, I would probably just focus on the burn and just kind of come through, darken up those creases. And just to show you the quick before and after everything. Alright, so that's what I would do for all my basic retouching. So now what we want to do is go ahead and get started on doing the old vintage photo effect. So with that, I'm just going to come down here, flatten the image, and I will make a duplicate layer by holding Control J, and we are going to name this Pointillize. And we want to convert this to a smart object, so you can just right click, come up here to convert to smart object, click on that. Alright, and we will come back to this layer, but now what we want to do is create a levels adjustment. We're going to come down here and we're just going to move the blacks over to about 25%, and this is just going to give us kind of that faded vintage look, but we will bring this all back. And then we want to create another level, and this will be a color balance level. And on this one, I just mess with the midtones, and I will push my reds to +20 and my yellows to -6. And depending on the photo, those numbers of course could change, but it's just going to give you kind of this yellow and red effect that kind of looks like a sun faded photo, and just gives kind of that old vintage film look. And then last is I'm going to create a brightness and contrast layer, and then we will take our brightness to -30, and we're going to take our contrast to +30. And again, that just brought back all of that nice rich color that we were working with. And we can go ahead, select all three of these layers and put them in a group. We will just name this adjustment layers. And then you want to go to your color balance layer, and we are going to turn this to vivid light. I'm sorry, we're going to change this to lighten. All right. So once you have those layers made, the next thing I'm going to do is apply a vignette on the photo. And to do that, I will just create a solid color layer, and we're just going to create it as a black. And then we're working on a white mask, so I'll just go ahead, get a black brush, and get flow to about 20 or 30%. Make sure it's a large soft brush. And then we'll just start painting away. So make sure you have a black brush here. And kind of the idea is I don't like to do a real clean vignette with this, just because it kind of takes away from the age of the photo. So that's why I do it as a solid color rather than just creating a vignette when I'm doing my color grade with a radial filter. And then from this, I'll just drop my opacity down. Just bring it down to about 70%. So you can see here we're just getting a vignette. If we need to adjust any more, we can always come back, paint some more out of it. And then the next thing we're going to do is create a gradient filter. So with this, I just go to gradient map. And I have actually made a gradient for this, and I will show you what my settings are on that. So if you go over here to your dark colors and type in the number 483623, that's going to get you this dark brown color. And then go over to your light colors and type in this number, lowercase d 8c19e, and that will give you this light kind of cream color. And once we have that, this is what we're going to want to select to vivid light. And you can see here it's very drastic, but what we're going to do is we're going to bring down this opacity to about 12%. So it just adds kind of an old, nice little tone to everything. Then the next thing that we are going to do is actually go back to our pointillize filter. And on this, we're going to come up here to filter, pixelate, and select pointillize. And we will drop this number to 3. It's the lowest that it will go. Go ahead and click OK. And now what we want to do is we want to blur these pixels. So we're also going to come up here and go filter, blur, Gaussian blur, and we want this set at 1. All right, and once you have that, come right down here to your smart filter, and next to where it says pointillize, you'll see these 2 lines with the arrows. Go ahead and just double click on those. You'll have this ad pop up. Just go ahead and click OK. And we're going to want to take this mode and change it to overlay. And we want to drop the opacity to 51% or around there. This just adds some noise and texture to the image. Alright, so the next thing that we are going to do is this is where we start adding in our textured layers. So we're going to want to come up here to File, Place Embedded, and I'll scroll over here to my dust and scratches, and we start out with the paper texture. So we'll open that. Just go ahead and click OK. We don't want to make any adjustments to it. And on this, I want to rotate it since this is a portrait style. And we'll just hold Alt and resize this as we need. If it's bigger than the photo, that's perfectly fine. Just make sure that the photo is covered. And then we want to change our blend mode on this to multiply. And what this is going to do is it's just going to bring out all of the dark spots of the paper texture and add those to our photo. Now, if you would like, if some of those dark spots are showing up on the skin or something, you can always come in here, create a layer mask. We will pick a soft brush. I'll put the flow to about 10%. And we can just come in here, paint on her skin if we don't want that hitting in those areas. Alright, so the next thing we're going to do, place another texture. So on this one, go back, File, Place Embedded Image. And then I've got a couple of these dust and scratch layers. So just select whichever one you would like out of that. We're going to go ahead and use this 307. Hit OK. Now since this layer is black, what we are going to want to do, first off, let's go ahead and resize it. So again, I'll rotate this 90 degrees, but I want to do it 90 degrees counterclockwise because I want these scratches more at the bottom of my photo. So we'll resize. And then what we need to do with this layer is actually invert it. So we're going to hold Control I. And that's going to make this picture white, and then the scratches in the picture black. And then again, we will go in here, change the blend mode to multiply, and that's just going to have all the scratches and stuff show up on your photo. Now, if you think it's too much, you can always bring the opacity down a little bit. Again, you can make a layer mask. You know, this big black spot I'm not a big fan of. So I'd probably paint that one out. Alright, and now we're going to add the last layer, and that will be our main scratch layer. So that, I'm going to go to File, again, Place Embedded, and you can see as we're doing this, it's just building up this whole effect. So I'll go ahead and pick this layer. And same thing, just resize it over the photo. And now for this one, we want to change the blend mode to screen. So I actually like the scratches all up here at the top on this photo, but I'm going to go ahead, we're going to drop down the opacity on this, somewhere probably about 65%. I'll add a layer mask. I'm going to paint off on her a little bit just to bring some of it back. Now you can see I'm kind of going wide with this. I don't want it to be just painted on just her skin, or else it'd look unnatural. And I actually might paint back in a little bit of that effect here and drop the opacity down even more. Alright, and then from here, any other adjustments you need to do, the last thing I would do is I would probably add another gradient map on here. I love this green gradient map, so I'm going to go ahead and use that, this kind of dark green and gray. Change the opacity to about 10%, and I will change this to soft light. And that's it. That is what I would do on this photo for this edit to get that effect. So let's go ahead and go back and we'll look at before we added these effects and after we added these effects. So here was just with the color grade, and then after we added all of the effects. So you can see it really transforms the photo. It gives it that nice vintage look. So guys, if this was helpful, if this is something you would like to try, again, I'm going to leave a link where you can use my preset. You can use all of these textured filters. I will be giving those to you for free, and I would love to see what you guys can come up with. Let me know in the comments if this was helpful. I would love to hear your guys' feedback on what you guys would like in the future.